Are you stuck? What about unhappy? Join Alena Chapman, author, mentor, and life coach for 30-minute moments as she challenges you to get out of the doldrum and start living your life to the fullest. It's time to celebrate that life with 30-minute moments.
Welcome to 30-Minute Moments, and I am your host, Alena Chapman. And this show is to bring you more betterment and ease into your everyday life. I do want to bring up, you guys, this wonderful new program that I am starting. And you know why I started it is because everywhere I go, people are talking about how they cannot get these people to work for them that understand their mission, understand what's going on, and the salespeople, marketing people, all these different people that are coming in, and they're just so frustrated. So I have learned this through my own success and through some of the challenges that I've gone through, and also a lot of other ways. And I decided it's time for me to bring out that expertise and help you. So I started this program called New Vision Leadership. And I'll tell you what it does. It helps you because it helps you to gain a crystal clear vision. You know, Steve Jobs said, you can have a vision, but if you can't communicate it, guess what? You're nowhere. And then breaking through those blocks, those things inside of us that are preventing us from being the leader we need to be. And then finally, how do you gain the knowledge of how and who you're looking for and how they should be best for you? So this is a wonderful program. If you're interested, go to alenachapmanlife.com and let me know, or just text the show. You can text. The show is at 46862. Just say, hey, Alena talked about this new vision thing. I want to know more. 46862. Okay, let's get started with this wonderful show. I am very excited about this. Matt Kahn, I've read his book, and guys, I love it. I think the way he writes and what he's writing about pertains to our lives every day. I'll write what he has written. Love heals everything. I love this. Now, that's not the name of the book. That is the name of the show. Love heals everything. But he is talking about how you can learn to see through each block and barrier that you may have. Isn't that ideal? So that you can reclaim your power and embody your everyday life and the work you came here to do in the most joyful and heart-centered way. And that's always my goal. The answer is simpler than you may think. Love. It heals everything. And you've heard me talk about that before. But you know what? He's going to put a new spin on it, and I think you're going to love it. So Matt Kahn is the author of the best-selling book, Whatever Arises, Love That. Cute title. He is a spiritual teacher, an empathic healer who has become a YouTube sensation with his healing and often humorous videos. His more than 10 million YouTube channel viewers are finding the support they seek to feel more loved, awakened, and open to the greatest possibilities in life through the invitation of joining the quote-unquote love revolution that begins with you. I love that. And with that, I'm going to bring Matt right on. Hello, Matt. I love your book. Now, this book is called, I didn't tell everybody, but I want to tell them, Everything is Here to Help You. I love that title because it's true.
It's very true. You know, it's the funny thing about that title is I wrote this book. You know, this is my first book with Hay House. It's my second book. My first one, Whatever Rises, Love That. But this book, it's hilarious because I write books and I have this really funny tradition where I write everything, and then my publisher says, hey, what if we call it this instead? And so Everything is Here to Help You is like the perfect title that I didn't come up with. I wrote the entire book, and my publisher goes, hey, let's call it Everything is Here to Help You. And I always have the same reaction. I go, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
So I think it's just perfect that we have a title that really kind of gets to the heart of the matter that, you know, I think philosophically everyone kind of knows everything can help me, everything is supposed to help me, but where do we actually ground into the moment and say, okay, how do I allow everything to help me for my evolutionary benefit, and how do I not just understand this mentally, but really allow it to transform me on an emotional, energetic, and spiritual level? And that's, of course, why I wrote this book.
I love it. I love it. I will bring in, I had one thing. I was going to go chapter by chapter, but I'm going to jump, okay? I'm going to jump to one chapter I love. I'm jumping to your chapter, Freedom from the Spiritual Microscope. I love that title, by the way, because we can. You see, some people so intent on the spiritual that they actually miss the spiritual.
Absolutely.
But I want to bring up, because this speaks to everything is here to help you, and realizing it. And that's why I'm bringing this up. I was once a person standing in a space, and now I am where a person stands. You wrote that in the book, and you did this amazing exercise where you were looking in the mirror. And I mean, you know, a lot of us, when we look into the mirror, and even I do sometimes, you know, you look away quickly. You don't even realize you're doing it. But if you really make yourself stay there and look into those eyes, I mean, it's phenomenal what happens. Can you tell them the experience you experienced when you did that?
Yeah, I had an experience, one of many awakenings in my lifetime, where I was standing in front of a closet that had lengthwise mirrors. And I was just looking at myself. And for some reason, I had developed this daily practice of just looking into my eyes and giving myself a chance to, when I had the sense to look away, I would just keep looking and breathe slower and just maintain eye contact with myself. And as I started to do this, it's like the form that I saw became pixelated dots, kind of like if you saw a TV without a proper signal. And I started seeing my entire body become this pixelation of dots of just white light. And as it started to vibrate faster and faster, everything in my body became this white pixelated light until the image of my entire body disappeared. And what I noticed was the body, the image, and the reflection disappeared. But I, the witness, seeing that reflection, remained. And that was an experience that showed me, in my own experience directly, that yes, I am experiencing life as this person, as this character, and this image is a decoration of who I am. But who I really am is actually within and beyond all the things I see. And that was an experience that really made it dramatic, because the image disappeared completely, but the reality, the witness, the light within it remained.
And didn't you feel at that point, so first of all, everyone out there, so stay looking in the mirror. Stay looking and see what happens. But Matt, didn't you find now that this light just expands, and it shows it's connected, and there lies everything is here to help you, correct?
Well, yeah, the light did expand, and the light within myself was known to be the light of all things. And I'd had those realizations before. I think what had happened is this specific realization was about, without trying to, was about liberating myself from being lost in the identity of myself. And even if I go through further awakenings I've had, here's what's really interesting about what I've realized in my experiences, is that the light is the truth of connection. Yes. But there's a level of reality where you actually wake up out of being connected to other things. So it's kind of like if light is within all things, there's this half foot in human land and half foot in spiritual land, and there's this sense of I'm connected to all things, which is like half in, half out. Right. And then when both feet get put in the doorway of light, what happens is all the things you're connected to equally, they don't disappear out of sight, they disappear out of inner meaning. And what happens is you just become this light that is the light of connection. You become the light that everything, all beings are seeking. You become the truth that all beings are seeking, instead of being a being who is seeking that light. And so from that experience, and we fast forward many, many years, when I wrote Everything is Here to Help You, it's because most people are so distracted and compromised by the ups and downs and circumstances of their everyday lives that it distracts them from the realization of that connection. And so I wanted to write a book where we could make peace and harmonize with all of our humanness so that our humanness and our divine essence can come together in holy matrimony.
And voila, you come to the ego.
Voila.
Voila. So with that, you know, a lot of times it's our thinking and our wanting to be so attached. I always, you know, Matt, I have to tell you, I do, when I talk to clients that I have or groups of classes I teach, because I do all that, I always say, when you become a little more detached, it's not detached in love, it's detached from your investment in it. And when you let go of that, then all of a sudden you become a better mother. You become a better leader because you can see such a bigger picture. Do you see? And it's really letting go of the ego, or not letting go of it, but learning how to not allow it to control, melding it. And anyway, so I understand how people kind of get deterred into getting stuck, meaning and not being able to reach this next level of feeling this total engrossing light and feeling that we are really a spirit within a body and not a body with a spirit.
What I would add to this
yes, please.
Dialogue about this is that the reason I wrote Everything Is Here to Help You is because I think typically there's been this tradition on the spiritual path of, in order to have a better experience, we have to vilify or judge what we think is in the way of the experience.
Yes.
The prime reason I wrote this book is actually to give respect and honor to the ego, because it can be so easy to lead a lynch mob and a witch hunt that says my ego is the problem, my mind
yes.
is the problem, my overthinking is the problem. And what I find, working with so many people around the world, is as soon as they name a perpetrator, an enemy, and a predator within their own self, they have an enemy. And when you have an enemy, you're not allowing the evolutionary benefit of that reality to help you. So from my realization that everything
That's
is a
right.
point of connection, or you could say God or source, if everything is God or source, then the idea of trying to push away the ego is actually pushing away source.
That's right.
To hold a grudge against
That's
another person is to be at odds with your own divinity. So I wrote this book to go step by step through the process of, when everything is here to help you, we are decoding the actual evolutionary benefits of an overthinking mind. What's the purpose of an ego? What's the purpose of conditioning? What's the purpose of feelings like anger and sadness and jealousy? And if you know every single gift that these negative or difficult emotions can provide you,
yes.
and you start to become in right relationship with all aspects of
That's
yourself,
cool.
because the realization that we are divine can only dawn when we don't have any internal enemies, no matter how many external people seem to be at odds with us. So this is a really fundamental shift where we start to say,
it's a big shift.
How is everything here to help me? And if I'm thinking that I have to get rid of something in order for something better to occur, then I am just in my own inner conflict, and no amount of spiritual work can free us of that inner conflict. It's only the love that we can provide and the respect and honor that we can provide all parts of ourselves that truly liberate us forever.
Exactly. You are listening to 30-Minute Moments, and I have Matt Kahn here, and I am your host, Alena Chapman. We will be right back.
You're listening to 30-Minute Moments with Alena Chapman, helping you discover your true purpose on WOWO and at WOWO.com.
Welcome back to 30-Minute Moments, and I'm your host, Alena Chapman. We have Matt Kahn here, and we are talking about the ego. And I think we're going to talk a little more about the ego because, you know, so many times we hear, we have to get rid of that ego, that critical ego that it is, and it's only meant for attack and all this other stuff. But this is a different kind of concept. And I think if we hear this, we'll be more at peace, which is kind of the idea of life. Matt, you wrote, and I love it, The ego, it is meant to be transformed instead of abandoned or cast away. I love that line.
I love it too, and I think of, I'm not currently a parent quite yet. That might be in my future. But if we think of our egos like our inner children,
okay.
The rule of thumb I like to say is if you wouldn't treat a child or say it to a child, we shouldn't say it to ourselves. So if we are responding to our own egos in a way we wouldn't treat an infant, we are probably not approaching it in the most direct and heart-centered way. So if we think of our inner children or our egos like inner children, then no matter how much they're screaming out for attention or crying out in pain or saying the kind of things that are not so nice that we think they're saying to us, in reality, the ego is only replaying in our own consciousness its own history of pain and torment. So like a very wise parent would look at a problem child and say, well, my child's in pain, and this is the child that I'm here to raise with unconditional love. The process I teach is that even the ego in its most problematic, frustrating aspects, when we decide to say, the things that cry out the most inside of me, whether it's a noisy mind or a reactive emotional body, these are the parts of myself that need more love. And it's not about deciding whether it deserves love based on its behavior.
No, that's conditional.
Realizing that the extent of its behavior is the degree to which it's in pain or feeling separate from the wholeness of love. And as we become the ones that say, I understand your pain, let me be the one that loves you, we are soothing the ego. And what happens is by soothing the ego, we're relaxing the nervous system. And by relaxing the nervous system, we allow the body to unwind. We allow the root chakra to ground, and our entire energy field starts to open up to the subtle mysteries of our eternal existence. But the way in which we access the mysteries of our highest potential is literally by learning to meet what arises as love itself. And as we learn how all these different emotions are here to help us, we start to realize that every single day is an opportunity to truly evolve and raise our vibration by becoming more emotionally receptive to the feelings that arise within us.
And I know what you're saying. I'm going to, for our listeners out there, how can this help you? I used to teach, or I was an instructor for Right Relations, where we would help people with relationships. Now, you know this, Matt, as well as I do. Sometimes boys grew up they were supposed to be little men when they were 2 years old. And we don't cry, we don't do this, we have to be big boys. And these men grew up with all these lessons. Basically, that's what forms our ego, the lessons and experiences we have. And so they became very detached. Well, guess what happens when a very detached man marries a woman? Then all of a sudden she's saying, well, you can't communicate. You don't understand. You're not warm. And then lo and behold, they're in my class. Okay? When they started to understand that those lessons that they learned were good for some things, but how to open it up, how to soften it, how to soften the lessons and let someone in, all of a sudden they would just feel freedom. Their ego was holding them so hostage. But when they started to soften it and start to accept those lessons, but understand that it's okay to let someone in, then all of a sudden their world changed. Their relationships changed. They ended up still married and happy. It changed your life.
Well, absolutely. And I think that, in order for someone, whether you're a man raised with a certain upbringing, whether you're a woman raised with a certain upbringing, because and as I say in my book, Everything is Here to Help You,
yes,
there are masculine and feminine energies in both of us.
Yes.
And one of the most captivating parts of the book is I talk about how to balance the inner polarity of both masculine and feminine energies within us, because there are some women who lead with their masculine, there are some men that are who are relegated to their feminine, and all the combinations in between.
Right.
And I think that when we're in a relationship shows us how conscious of a partner that each of us are and how conscious of a partner each of us are is really reflecting if or where the imbalance of dysfunction is within us.
Exactly.
So if we are not being quite a conscious partner with our beloved, that means that there is some imbalance within our own psyche, within our own energy field, right, within our own heart. So, and I think a lot of people, when they're in the relationship, and it's very helpful at some levels to say, well, the conflicts need to be worked out in the relationship. But oftentimes what happens is when each person takes the opportunity to look within their heart and to ask themselves, why am I emotionally shut down? Why am I seeking control as a way of avoiding vulnerability? Why can't I soften? And once we each start to look at our own inner relationship with our own heart, then we can actually face within ourselves all the barriers that have been built up against love.
Tons.
As we unpack that barrier to love, then we find ourselves more open and having more to give and receive to our partners. So I truly believe that one of the most necessary components to a healthy relationship is when both people have healthy relationships with their own innocence and their own eternal hearts. And as we connect with our own hearts, we're able to see our partners for who they really are. We're able to receive them for all the gifts they're here to provide. And if the time comes that it's time to part ways, by being in right relationship with our heart, we'll know when that time comes, when it's time to move on. And so, of course, love is both nurturing, fulfilling, and fearless. And only when we connect with ourselves will we know exactly the role others play in our lives.
That goes for everything. We have to connect with ourselves. This is Alena Chapman. This is 30-Minute Moments. We will be right back.
This is 30-Minute Moments with Alena Chapman, helping you find your inner self every Sunday on WOWO and at WOWO.com.
Welcome back to 30-Minute Moments, and here we are. Now, this should be a very exciting, the shift. So here we go. And with Matt Kahn, we're going to hear his pivotal moment, his aha moment. And Matt, could you tell us your story?
Well, the earliest memory of my awakening began when I was 8 years old, and I found myself, I thought I was dreaming, and I found myself in the most majestic garden I've ever been in, where the colors were so bright and vibrant. It was like the colors were exploding with this vibration of love. And at that age of 8, I had known love for my family, but I'd never known love like this. And I was walking through this garden feeling very held and secure, and I found myself moving through a field of waist-high flowers, and I could feel my 8-year-old body really pushing through the thickness of the waist-high flowers. And then suddenly, I realized I was actually hovering above the flowers, and I couldn't figure out how I was hovering above the flowers and feeling myself moving through at the same time. But the love was so immense, it just became instantly acceptable. And about 20 feet in front of me was this being in a white robe with dark hair and a beard, and he motioned me towards him. And I didn't move. I felt nothing but love coming from the being, but I just froze. And then all of a sudden, I started being gravitationally moved towards this being. And as I got about 5 feet from this being, I saw just pure white light pouring out of his eyes. And it reminded me when I was a kid of those scary movies where people roll their eyes up in their head. I don't know why I thought that.
Well, sure.
When I had that thought, it broke the state of the experience. I fell through the garden. I fell through the sky. I fell through, all these different levels of reality until I fell back in my body. And once I returned to my body, did I realize that I actually left it. And I'm sitting in my bed, freezing cold, sweating, and I saw the same being outlined in this white energetic material motioning me towards them. And as I looked directly at him, he disappeared. And the next morning, I went to my friend's house, and I was telling about the story. And in their living room, they had a painting of Jesus. And I said, well, who's that? And my friend said, because I was raised Jewish, I really didn't know too much about Jesus. And he said, that's Jesus. I said, well, I don't know who he is, but that's who I met last night. And, of course, my friend thought that was blasphemous and ridiculous. Yeah. And I didn't know why. I thought maybe I broke a cardinal rule or something. But it was from that experience, that activation of meeting Jesus in the garden, where I started to feel the presence of archangels surrounding me, walking with me. And it was the moment where I started to have, insights drop in, where I would know things without knowing why I would know things.
Right.
So I would know a lot of things, but I had no context for it. And, of course, it would be 30 years before all this would come together. And I would just say things without knowing why I'm saying things, and people would have a positive visceral response. And it just became the moment that really set the course of my entire life's work.
Oh, absolutely fabulous. 30 years, and it does take time, doesn't it? It does take time for us to really get ourselves to evolve sometimes, and the most worthwhile journeys that we're on take time. But that story is phenomenal, Matt. How can people find out more about you? How can we get to know you? I know you have a YouTube channel too.
Absolutely. My YouTube channel, I think now has over almost 12 million views, over 100 free videos on there. I post every month. I'm on Facebook regularly, and all of that can be found on my website at www.mattcon.org. And, of course, there's also an updated list of my upcoming events, whether in person or attending via live streaming. And, of course, if you go to mattcon.org, you can sign up for my free newsletter and receive a free MP3 activation that I put on there.
Very cool. And, guys, just so you know, Con is spelled Kahn, okay? So, anyway, I just want to say, Matt, this is phenomenal. And his book, everything is here to help you. It is really worth the read. It is very eye-opening, and I think you'll just feel a peace when you read it, which is very cool. I just am very happy to have you on, Matt. Very, very happy. I think you brought a lot to us. I thank you. And everyone else out there in this wonderful listening world, we are looking for questions. If you have questions on any of these shows, we are wanting you to text. I will give you that number again, 46862, because I am having a show where I am answering your questions. And if this goes well, maybe we will even do it live sometime, but it is 46862. If you can send your questions in, then I will once a month be on where I can answer those questions for you. Remember, guys, our lives are to experience and enjoy and to learn and to grow. And we are truly that wonderful, beautiful light that we see ever so often in our eyes, and we feel we are that light. And so allow it to grow and allow yourself to have more of that ease and betterment in every day. Thank you, Matt, for being here. We enjoyed having you very much. And thank you to everyone else. Namaste.
This has been 30-Minute Moments featuring Alena Chapman. If you missed an episode, download it now at wowo.com.
Podcasts by Federated Media.